The series, which holds the highest viewership worldwide, begins with Wednesday waking up tied up in a room full of dolls. Wednesday tells us that she's trapped in the lair of a serial killer, and this person thinks he can overpower her. But what he doesn't know is that Wednesday will be his last victim. Wednesday explains to us how she ended up in this predicament, saying she spent her vacation studying her psychic abilities through a book of spells by Goody, and that she was able to gain control over her powers. During that time, she discovered someone known as the Head Flare, named so because he skins the heads of his victims. He managed to do this to 11 victims, all of them girls. Through touching a bowling ball that the Head Flare had touched, Wednesday used her powers to locate his whereabouts. To trap him, she decided to travel there herself. At the airport, security stopped her and asked her to remove any steel tools or coins. But Wednesday shocks them when she pulls out an overwhelming number of sharp tools, as if she's a butcher, not a teenage girl. The security officer watching the baggage scanner tells the others to inspect Wednesday's bag, because there's something strange in it. The bald officer finds things inside the bag, and Wednesday tells them it's a fake hand she's bringing to a taxidermy conference. So security lets her through. Wednesday successfully tracks down the Head Flare, and the moment she touches him, her visions begin. But strangely, black tears stream from her eyes and she loses consciousness. When she wakes up, she finds the Head Flare approaching her to do to her what he did to his victims. But with Thing's help, she distracts him using a doll toy, and Thing manages to take down the serial killer. Later, we see on the news that he was successfully arrested. Wednesday then reveals in her thoughts that the black tears were just a glitch, nothing more. But things aren't that simple, dear viewer. So hang tight, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel because things are about to explode. Wednesday goes with her mother, father, and brother to Nevermore Academy for Outcasts, and we learn that her brother will also be attending the school with her. Her parents are going to stay with them for a while at the beginning of the new academic year. It's clear that Wednesday's brother, Pugsley, has developed his powers significantly and can control them much better than before. On another note, we cut to a photographer spying on two people, taking pictures and secretly watching them. Suddenly, a raven appears with one normal eye and one damaged eye. And strangely, more ravens begin to gather. Dozens of them cover the tree and even the car. Suddenly, they attack the photographer, but he manages to get inside the car just in time. The photographer sends a voice message to an unknown person, someone we don't yet know, saying that the evidence is in the basement in case he doesn't make it. The ravens then fully attack the photographer and kill him. Meanwhile, Wednesday arrives at the school with her family, and her mother advises her to look after her brother. But Wednesday warns him not to approach her unless he files an official request first. Wednesday is surprised to find that the students at school are obsessed with her and want to talk to her because she's now super famous after saving the school from destruction. Then, Bianca shows up to move the new students away from Wednesday and welcomes her to the new school year. Bianca walks off, and the new headmaster of Nevermore Academy appears and introduces himself to Wednesday. His name is Barry Dort. He tells Wednesday that he plans to reinstate the founders' bonfire ceremony and wants her to be the student of honor. But Wednesday refuses and walks away. It's clear this new principal is hiding something big, and we'll uncover it soon. So don't worry, dear viewer. Wednesday arrives at her room to find it in complete chaos, full of students. Then Enid shows up to welcome her and asks all the students in the room to leave. The last person to show up is Bruno, Enid's new boyfriend. Enid tells Wednesday that her summer vacation was amazing and gives her a t-shirt as a gift. In return, Wednesday gives her one of the Head Flare's dolls as a present and informs her that the doll's hair is real, not fake. Wednesday lets Enid know that she doesn't want any disturbances because she's going to continue working on her new novel. She finished the one she'd been writing for 2 years, and now she's starting a new one. Just then, Ajax knocks on the door, and Enid hides from him. Wednesday tells him that Enid isn't there and slams the door in his face. We find out that Enid is ignoring Ajax and is focused on her new boyfriend, Bruno, even though she tells Wednesday that Ajax has always been good to her. But she just doesn't feel the same attraction to him as she does to Bruno. At that moment, an arrow suddenly hits near them with a picture of Wednesday, and the principal attached to it. And on the photo is written, "Hello, Wednesday. I'm watching you." Wednesday tries to use her powers, but she sees nothing, and black tears start streaming from her eyes. She refuses to tell Enid the reason behind those tears. Meanwhile, we see Pugsley being dropped off by his mom and dad to the room he'll share with his schoolmates. A friendship begins to form between Pugsley and Eugene, the beekeeping kid. Eugene shows Pugsley his power. He can control insects, and he tells Pugsley that he owes his life to Wednesday. On the other hand, Wednesday and her family meet with the principal, who tells them that many donors have pulled their funding from the school and that they are in desperate need of money and donations to keep the school running. He asks Morticia Addams and Gomez to make a donation, and then he shows them the place where they'll be staying during their time at the school. Morticia tells Wednesday, "I'll be your guide. You can always come to me." But Wednesday replies, "You're a dove and I'm a raven." Her mother tells her that she has experience with ravens. And Wednesday responds by saying, "You've never told me about Aunt Oilia before." We come to understand that Morticia had a sister named Oilia who possessed the same powers as Wednesday. While Wednesday is walking through the forest, she sees the police investigating the case of the photographer who was attacked by the ravens. She notices someone nearby and decides to follow him only to discover it's Galpin. He tells her that the photographer was his colleague and that they had been working together on a case. He also reveals that the photographer had uncovered a very important secret, one that could impact all outcasts, but someone stopped him and did what they did to him. Galpin asks Wednesday to help him, but she refuses. He then tells her to come back to him if she changes her mind. Meanwhile, Ajax and the other new students are gathered as Ajax tells them a story from Nevermore's history. Once upon a time, there was a smart boy with a weak heart. He was always sick in bed, but incredibly skilled at drawing machines. One day, the boy managed to design a mechanical heart that could replace his failing one. He successfully implanted it, and his condition improved. The boy became very famous, and everyone at the school praised him as a genius. But one day, that same genius was the reason his life came to an end. Thelagen says he's buried at an unmarked grave. And if you get close to it and listen carefully, you can still hear the ticking gears of his mechanical heart. This story captivates Pugsley and grabs his full attention. At the same time, the headmaster summons Bianca and asks her to be the student liaison for fundraising. Although Bianca refuses, the headmaster threatens to expel her since she was admitted on a scholarship, not through paid tuition, leaving her with no choice but to accept. Meanwhile, Wednesday plays a short piece on her cello, and we see someone removing her eyes from a photo. At the end of her performance, a new teacher named Miss Cabra walks in on Wednesday. We learn that Miss Cabra is the music teacher, and it becomes clear that she's hiding a big secret. When Wednesday arrives, she finds that Xavier has sent her a painting of a raven. He tells her he doesn't know the meaning behind the artwork, but he keeps seeing it in his dreams and is convinced it has something to do with her. The painting shows a raven with one good eye and one damaged eye perched on a tombstone. Wednesday then realizes that her novel, the one she spent 2 years writing, has gone missing. The mysterious person watching her informs her that the book will be burned along with the statue during the upcoming ceremony, and she must find it or lose it forever. Wednesday immediately sets off to search for the manuscript. Meanwhile, Pugsley tells his friends that he plans to sneak away during the bonfire ceremony and go dig up the grave of the boy with the mechanical heart. On the other side, Wednesday finds a note in her pocket that reads, "If you don't want your novel to burn, go inside the bonfire." She takes the risk and enters the bonfire structure to look for the book. At the same time, the students begin burning the statue and use their powers to make it rise into the air. It's a majestic scene as the eagle-shaped statue soars into the sky, and everyone present is left in awe of its beauty and grandeur. While this spectacle unfolds, Wednesday is still inside the bonfire searching for her book, and with difficulty, she finally finds it and escapes. The principal then introduces her as the student of honor and asks her to give a speech to the rest of the students. He reveals a painting he made of her and her friends commemorating their role in saving the school. However, Wednesday is upset because in the painting she's smiling, and she never smiles in real life. Furious, she steps onto the stage to speak. She grabs Themic and tells the students that they're fools for celebrating something like this. Suddenly, she sets the painting on fire in front of the shocked audience and walks away. Meanwhile, her brother goes to the grave to listen for the heartbeats, but he accidentally uses his powers on the grave, which causes the boy to come back to life. The boy rises from the grave looking like a zombie. And strangely, this makes Pugsley laugh. Back to Wednesday. She suddenly falls into a coma and finds herself in a vision standing before a tombstone with Enid's name on it. Enid appears and tells her, "What happened to me is because of you. End. Wednesday wakes up with black tears streaming from her eyes and immediately asks about Enid. Her mother reassures her that Enid is fine and tells her not to worry. She also explains that she knows the meaning behind the black tears. It's called psychic exhaustion. It's a result of misusing her powers. Her mother advises her to let go of Goody's book, warning her that it will destroy her, but Wednesday refuses and walks away. She heads to Galpin's house, only to discover that he has died in the exact same way the photographer did, surrounded by a massive number of ravens. Wednesday tries to use her powers to see what happened to Galpin, but her abilities fail. At that moment, the police arrive and arrest her. During the interrogation, Wednesday refuses to say anything. Then, Gomez Addams, Wednesday's father, shows up and tells the detective that he's a lawyer and that his daughter is being interrogated without a warrant. He takes her with him. The next day, Huxley shows his friend Eugene that he successfully captured the genius boy with the mechanical heart, and they both decide to keep him hidden in the shed until they figure out what to do with him. When Wednesday returns, she's shocked to find that Enid was just pranking her, and Enid is actually alive. Then, back in her room, Wednesday discovers someone has left her Sheriff Galpin's eyeball. And even more disturbing, an anonymous sender has sent their photos of herself that were taken from Enid's phone. Enid tells Wednesday that she has a driving test and leaves. Wednesday then decides to visit Tyler to ask him about his father, Galpin. It's revealed that she shows up at the DMV impersonating Enid in order to pass the driving test and reach the facility where Tyler Galpin is being held. Dr. Fairborn greets Wednesday and takes her to see Tyler. Wednesday tells Tyler what happened to his father, and also that his photographer partner Bradbury died the same way. She asks him if he had anything to do with what happened, but Tyler denies it. Strangely, Tyler suddenly says, "Say hi to Enid. I'll finish her off the next time I see her." Meanwhile, Wednesday tells him, "You're useless. I don't need to see you again," and leaves him. On the other hand, Enid and Bruno are attacked by a mysterious person who locks up Thing. When Wednesday returns, she receives a call on Enid's phone, informing her that she has to search in a certain way to find her friend before her life ends. We see that Enid and Bruno are chained up at the big clock, and above them are many swords about to fall on them at any moment. Wednesday keeps searching until she finds a mask with time is running written on it. She concludes that since it's about time, Enid must be trapped inside the clock. At that moment, we see Enid and Bruno's relationship deepen and they fall in love. Wednesday arrives, but it's too late, and the swords begin to fall on Enid and Bruno. Wednesday tries to go down and solve the puzzle to stop the gears and save them. She succeeds in solving the puzzle and saves her friend at the last moment. At that point, the girl obsessed with Wednesday appears and tells her that she's the one who did the prank. She also tells her that her name is Agnes Dale, and she did all this to prove her worth to Wednesday, and that she deserves to be her friend. That's because Wednesday ignored her at first, thinking she was just a young, inexperienced fangirl. But in reality, Agnes turned out to be a genius, matching Wednesday in her brilliance. Wednesday asks Agnes if she was the one who did that to Galpin and the photographer. Agnes completely denies it and says she knows nothing about the matter. They all go down in the elevator and leave Agnes to go down alone. At the same time, Bianca goes to Wednesday's mother and uses her powers on her, convincing her that donating is her top priority and that she must donate to the school fund. Then she leaves. Meanwhile, Wednesday is sitting with Thing and tells him, "I have to get my powers back so I can save Enid. What I saw in the dream won't change unless I get my powers back." Then we go to the person in charge of the driving test, and suddenly the genius zombie boy appears and eats him, finishing him off. The next day, Wednesday's mom tells her husband that she's working on collecting donations for the school party. She says, I don't know why, but yesterday I felt an urgent need to call Mom, so I asked her to be the guest of honor at the party." When Wednesday's dad notices that she's anxious and upset about the idea of inviting her mom, he decides to distract her. So, he plays music so they can share a bit of romantic dancing. At that moment, Wednesday's mom has a vision of her daughter sneaking into her room to take Goody's book. She goes to her right away and says, "You think you can come in here and take the book without me noticing, huh? Anyway, why do you want the book?" So, Wednesday tells her about the vision she had at the cemetery, and that it showed she'll be the reason Enid's life ends. "I want Toriach the person who will finish her before they get to her. I need the book, Mom, to enhance my ability to see the events." Her mom replies, "So, you want to go and risk your life just like you did when you were chasing the serial killer?" "No, I'll never give you that book no matter what happens. And from now on, I don't want you risking your life and looking into this killer matter." Wednesday doesn't like what she hears and keeps telling her, "I want to search for answers to save my friend." But her mom tells her, "You're not as patient as your aunt Ophelia. She was just like you until she ended up going crazy. I won't let myself ever watch you walk her path." And she refuses to give Goody's book to Wednesday. Later in her room, Agnes comes to her and offers to help, but Wednesday doesn't welcome the idea. She tells her, "I'm going to Galpin's funeral, and when I come back, I don't want to see you again." Wednesday does go to the funeral where the sheriff and the therapist are also present. The sheriff walks away, leaving Wednesday and the therapist. Wednesday asks her, "Did Galpin visit Tyler in the asylum?" She told her, "Yes, just once." But Tyler was extremely angry, so he transformed to the point where he almost destroyed the cell bars if they hadn't intervened and shocked him. Wednesday told her, "I've been looking into the killer, and be aware he has the ability to tame the raven to work for him." The doctor said, "Don't worry, there's no patient in our asylum with that ability, so most likely the criminal is from outside the asylum." Wednesday thanked her for the information and left, and we see that the raven is watching them. To learn more about the criminal, Wednesday goes to Agnes and asks her to help unlock Galpin's phone. Agnes asks her friend to shapeshift into Galpin so they can use the facial recognition to open the phone. Agnes asked, "So, does this mean I'm officially in your investigation group now?" Wednesday said, "I see your presence as useful, so you can go now, and when I need you, I'll call you." Wednesday listens to the last voice message Carl left for Galpin before the ravens finished him off. The message says that all the evidence is in the cabin. Wednesday keeps searching to figure out where that cabin is until she discovers its location from the photos she has. It's in the same place where the school is going for camp tomorrow. The next day, she goes with the school, the camp, to search for the cabin Carl mentioned. She finds her brother arriving with a coffin. So she asks him, "What's the deal with this coffin?" But she doesn't get a chance to hear the answer because she's surprised to see that Dad and Mom have come to attend the camp with them. When she asks, "Why are you here?" They say the school principal asks the parents to attend this camp to show how well he's able to run the school professionally. Eugene goes to Wednesday's brother and asks him, "Why do you have fireworks in front of our tent?" He replies, "These aren't fireworks. It's an alert system in case the zombie comes out of the tent." Eugene says, "And why on earth did you let him come here? Now he could cause a disaster or kill someone." At that moment, Dad shows up and asks his son about the sound coming from the tent. Sohei and his friends start distracting him with talk so he won't go in and search the tent and find the zombie. After a while, the principal gathers the students and starts telling them about the history and legacy of this camp and how they finally got it as outcasts instead of it being reserved for regular humans. But at that moment, a scout team barges in with their coach, who's very angry. He says, "We booked this camp today. Can I know what you and your outcasts are doing here?" The principal replies, "Well, I booked it today too. Look, here's my contract." The coach says, "I don't care," and then turns to his team and says, "Kick the outcasts out of the camp by 4 sandu." Wednesday steps in and says, "No, that's not going to happen. If you want to take the camp, you have to deserve it. So, we'll have a competition between us and the team that wins gets to stay in the camp." The coach and the principal agree, and the competition is set between the two teams. The challenge is that each team has an egg to protect. The team that manages to steal the other team's egg and reach the top of the tower with it wins. At the beginning of the competition, the coach's team is winning. But with Wednesday's intelligence and strategy, she manages to steal the egg from them and starts heading to the tower to place the egg on top. However, one of the rival team members also has an egg and is about to reach the top. Here, Wednesday uses a grappling hook and pulls a stunt that lets her descend from a cliff straight to the top of the tower. She successfully places her team's egg there, winning the competition. As a result, the coach's team is kicked out of the camp. A bit later, Wednesday grabs her bag and heads off to find the cabin and discover what evidence is inside. Meanwhile, the coach tells his team, "I don't like that you lost. We need to sneak into the camp and take it from the outcast by force." Wednesday reaches the cabin and finds a hidden wall with a map showing all the outcasts who had been in the psychiatric hospital and how their lives ended 15 years ago. Above all the names and photos of the outcasts is the name Louise. Wednesday says most likely Louise is the one who took them out, and she's probably the one trying to finish off Enid. So she decided to start looking for this Louise in order to save her friend before it's too late. Meanwhile, back at the camp, we see the coach's team in disguises sneaking toward the camp to infiltrate it. Wednesday, in order to solve the mystery, needs the book of Jody. So, she goes to her mother and says, "I know you won't give me the book no matter how many times I ask. So, I challenge you to duel, and if I beat you, you have to give the book back to me." Her mother agrees, and the two of them begin a sword duel. Meanwhile, at the camp, the coach leads his team to break into the tent where the zombie is. Because of the fireworks, he trips and falls into the tent, which gives the zombie the upper hand to finish him off and eat his brain. Then, the zombie grabs an axe and starts walking around the camp, trying to take out as many people as possible, because as we know, every time he eats someone, his flesh regenerates. He enters the bathroom behind Wednesday's dad and is just about to finish him off. If it weren't for his son arriving at the perfect moment and shocking the zombie, forcing him out of the bathroom, the zombie heads into the forest. At the same time, Wednesday's mom defeats her in the duel, which means Wednesday will never be able to get the book from her. But then she sees the zombie about to kill her mom, so she stabs him in the head with the sword to save her. An ambulance from the psychiatric hospital arrives and takes the zombie to be one of their outcast patients. In that moment, Wednesday notices that the killer is watching her from a distance, him and his raven. But he disappears in the blink of an eye. So she heads to her room and starts laying the evidence she found in the cabin to try to figure out who the killer is and who Louise might be. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the doctor says to her assistant, "We received a new patient today, and I want you to make sure she has maximum protection." That patient is Marilyn, the one responsible for turning Tyler into his monstrous form. The next day, Dr. Fairborn summons Marilyn to her office and asks her, "What did you do to Tyler? I need to know his exact condition so I can treat him." Marilyn replies, "I'll tell you everything you want to know, but on one condition, that you let me stay here permanently as a patient." "Not as a prisoner." Dr. Fairborn says, "Unfortunately, that's not up to me. It's up to the court. And since you're refusing to talk, I'll proceed with treating Tyler using the standard brutal methods." At that moment, Marilyn's heart breaks for Tyler, and she says, "Fine, I'll tell you everything, but I have one request. Let me go to his cell and see him." Dr. Fairborn agrees and takes her to see Tyler. As soon as he sees her, he transforms into the monster and is about to finish her off. She keeps begging him to let her go, telling him she'll get him out of here until he throws her into the middle of the room. On the other side, we go to Wednesday, who's inspecting the graves of the outcasts who were wiped out 15 years ago. At that moment, her grandmother shows up and asks, "Why are you digging around in these graves?" Wednesday tells her, "Because it's connected to the investigation I'm working on. Look, all these patients were in the psychiatric hospital, and they all died and were cremated right here. This is all tied to a vision I had of Enid, where her life ends because of me." At that moment, we see the killer's raven spying on her, clearly already aware of all Wednesday's moves before she even makes them. The grandmother decides to help, and smells the urn to check if there's a human inside or not. And the surprise is the urns contain animal ashes. Right then, the raven swoops in, grabs the evidence from Wednesday, and flies off. Wednesday runs after it, but doesn't manage to catch it. She goes back to her grandmother and tells her, "I want you to buy this graveyard and find out who authorized the burial of these fake urns." The grandmother agrees. Helping her granddaughter will really annoy her daughter, and that's exactly what she wants. Wednesday heads back to her room, deep in thought about how to solve this mystery. Agnes enters and says, "I'm at your service," ready to solve this killer mystery together, hand in hand. Wednesday told her, "The answer to the mystery is inside the psychiatric hospital, and I know exactly who can gather the information we need from the inside." She meets with her Uncle Fester and asks him to infiltrate the hospital. Fester replies, "I know that hospital well. I've been there before. Your mother asked me to go in and look for your aunt, Oilia." Wednesday is shocked to learn that her aunt has been in that hospital all this time, and she never even knew or visited her. She asks her uncle to gather all the information he can about Lewis, but without letting Dr. Fairborn know that he's connected to her. Fester heads to a hotel and requests a private suite. Then he pays using stolen cash and starts causing chaos, breaking things in the room, and making a scene. The hotel manager calls the police, and they come to arrest him and begin questioning him. Fester keeps acting completely unhinged, forcing them to take him to the psychiatric hospital. Meanwhile, Wednesday goes to her mother and asks, "Why did you send Antofiliato that specific psychiatric hospital?" Her mother replies, "That's a question you should be asking your grandmother. She's the one who made that call." Wednesday insists, "No, you know why? You're just hiding it from me. Please tell me the truth." Her mother finally admits, "One day we found her screaming with black tears running from her eyes. It was because she had pushed her abilities too far. That's why your grandmother sent her to the hospital. She believed she'd gone insane." At that moment, the grandmother shows up and hands Wednesday the deed to the cemetery. Then whispers in her ear, "Augustus was the one who signed the death certificates." Wednesday leaves, and her mother and grandmother stay behind talking. We see that the relationship between them is strained. The grandmother tells her daughter, "You called me because you wanted me to donate to the school. I don't mind donating, but on one condition, you give the book back to Wednesday." Her mother replies, "What book? My daughter isn't up for negotiation between us." She grabs the book and throws it into the fire to end the conversation and shut down any deal. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Dr. Fairborn receives Fester and begins speaking with him to assess whether he's genuinely mentally ill or just faking it. From her conversation with him, she realizes that he had been committed to many mental institutions when he was young. And she starts to notice that he's actually insane. But she becomes certain of his mental condition when the assistant brings her his brain scan, which confirms he is mentally ill. So she took him and kept electrocuting and torturing him. And he didn't care at all. He was actually enjoying it. During his time at the institution, Esther kept looking around and asking anyone. He saw about someone named Lewis until one day he sees that the cafeteria worker's name is Louis. He keeps flirting with her until he manages to get into the storage room with her. But then he discovers that her name is Louise, not Lewis. At the school, Agnes brings information about Augustus to Wednesday and tells her that he's still alive but mentally ill in the asylum. At that moment, Enid sees her and starts confronting her, saying, "How long are you going to keep hanging out with Agnes and not want to stop or go out with me?" Wednesday doesn't get a chance to explain what's going on because the criminal shows up with his crows and attacks them. The principal comes and fights the crows with fire, and Wednesday sees the criminal hiding in a black cloak, watching them from the window. So she runs after him to catch him, but he disappears. She finds Dr. Fairborn and starts suspecting that she is the mysterious person and says to her, "I think this cloak belongs to you. And what are you even doing here?" The doctor tells her, "No, that cloak isn't mine. I'm here to meet the music teacher because I want her to come teach the patients how to play the piano." Wednesday keeps being suspicious of the whole thing. Even when the music teacher arrives, she's suspicious of her too, because she was out of breath. That's why she had Thing ride in the car with the doctor, to follow them and find out if she's the mysterious person or not. At that moment, her mom shows up and says, "Why did you send your uncle to the mental hospital? You and I both know he doesn't let anyone arrest him unless he's on a mission. So why did you send him?" Wednesday tells her, "I sent him so he could uncover the truth and find out who's threatening the life of my friend Enid." Her mom says to her, "That same person is the one who attacked us today with the crows. My daughter, if you don't listen and keep doing what you want, you're going to ruin everything, and we might not be able to save you." Thing arrives at the hospital and informs Fester that he has to look for Augustus because he knows everything. Fester goes and meets Augustus, who stays silent and refuses to speak. He has a parrot with him, so Fester tries to get the parrot to talk in hopes of learning anything. But the parrot only says a series of numbers in a row. We go back to Wednesday, who visits the man with just a head and asks him about Augustus. She asks, "Do you know who Lewis is? Could she be his wife or something?" He tells her no. When he arrived here, his wife had already passed away, but he had a daughter he loved very much. So, I believe that's who Lewis is. Back at the hospital, Lauren meets Fester and recognizes him. That's how she realizes Wednesday is planning something today. Augustus points toward the maintenance room and keeps saying Louises. So, Fester understands that Lewis must be inside that room. Lauren sits with the doctor and asks her to let her help treat Tyler, but the doctor refuses. So Lauren says, "Okay, I'll tell you a serious secret in exchange for letting me assist in your sessions with Tyler." She reveals to her that the new patient who just joined is Wednesday Addams, Wednesday's uncle. That means Wednesday definitely sent him to spy on them and uncover their secrets. Immediately, the doctor has Fester arrested before he can open the maintenance room door. At that moment, Things sees what happened and rushes to inform Wednesday. She tells him, "Go back to Fester and keep an eye on him until I find a way to get in." Wednesday gathers with Agnes and Enid and lays out the plan. She tells them the music teacher has a piano lesson at the asylum, so I'll hide in the trunk of her car. As for you, Agnes, you'll distract security so they don't notice me. Enid asks, "And what about me? Are you done with me now or what?" Wednesday replies, "You'll keep watch over the whole place and warn us if anything happens." And indeed, they head to the hospital. There, Agnes goes into the security room bathroom and plants firecrackers. That way, the security guards get distracted by what's happening, and Wednesday is able to get out of the car trunk before they search it. With the help of Louise, who has fallen in love with Fester, Wednesday manages to enter the asylum without being searched as she hides in the food cart, and no one suspects her. She takes advantage of being there to steal the emergency key from one of the guards without him noticing. At the same time, the music teacher is playing for the patients to entertain them a bit. Wednesday sneaks into Fester and gets him out of the cell where they had locked him up with a zombie as a threat. But after they leave, the zombie manages to free itself and attacks the guards who were walking with Lauren. She escapes before it reaches her, and during her escape, she spots Wednesday. The alarm sirens go off, and all the security guards grab their weapons to face the threat. Wednesday and Fester reach the maintenance room, but the emergency key she has doesn't work. That's when Fester enters the numbers the parrot was saying, and they turn out to be the door's code. They go down into the basement and are shocked to find that all the patients who were declared dead are actually alive but imprisoned and experimented on. At that moment, the mysterious person arrives, and the surprise is that it's Dr. Fairborn's assistant. She tells them, "I'm the real director here, but to keep things running without suspicion, I appointed Dr. Fairborn as director. In short, she works for me. My greater mission is to continue the work of my father, Augustus. My goal is to extract powers from people like you and give them to normal people, just like my father did with me, and gave me the ability to control crows." At that moment, Fester surprises her and shocks her with electricity, knocking her unconscious. But because of what he did, the electricity shuts down across the entire hospital, and the patients manage to escape their prison. Not only that, but they also go after Louise since she's the one responsible for their presence here and for all the experiments she carried out on them. Wednesday refuses to escape alone and feels a connection with that patient, so she takes her with her. This makes us wonder, could this woman be her aunt? Meanwhile, Lauren takes advantage of the chaos, grabs Aki from one of the guards, and goes to free Tyler. As she does, she tells him, "I've never given up on you." But Tyler replies, "It doesn't matter because you're the reason I'm here in the first place." He gets furious with her and is about to finish her off. Lauren tells him, "I'm on your side. I'm with you, but your real enemy is Wednesday, and she's here now." Tyler responds, "I'll take care of Wednesday. But after I take care of you first," and he transforms into a monster and kills her in a fit of rage. At the same time, Doctor runs to her office to hide, but she's shocked to find the zombie there with her, and it finishes her off too. Then it goes after Augustus and eats him as well. Wednesday tries to escape with the patient, but she's shocked when Tyler, now a monster, charges at her at full speed. She tells the patient to run right away before her life ends, and Wednesday stands her ground in front of Tyler, showing incredible courage, unafraid of him. Tyler, enraged, attacks her and throws her from the second floor. The first part of the series ends with the police arriving at the scene and opening fire on Tyler, but he escapes and leaves Wednesday lying on the ground, struggling to stay alive. Her mind is full of her mother's words, realizing that maybe her mom was right, that by chasing after the criminal, she ended up ruining everything instead of finding solutions. And with that, we're left waiting for the next chapter to find out. Will Wednesday survive after this fall? And has her pursuit of the criminal really put Enid's life in danger? We'll find out all of this in the next part. Part 2 of Season 2 of Wednesday begins with Wednesday lying unconscious on her bed, while her father and mother sit beside her to check on her. Her mother feeling guilty about what happened. And after she and Gomez leave, Wednesday regains consciousness and is shocked to see Principal Williams standing in front of her. When she steps out of the room, she finds herself in a forest filled with several doors. Williams keeps talking to her and reveals that she will be her spiritual guide because they share a family bond that goes back to the 13th ancestor. Weems's mission is to help her regain the power she lost. As usual, Wednesday treats her with coldness and indifference, and Williams explains that she lost her powers because she abused them. Then she wakes her up from the dream. Afterward, we see Judy, who is acting as the interim head of Willow Hill Asylum, holding a press conference announcing that they will deal with the escaped patients who happen to be Wednesday Addams, Tyler Galpin, and a half-dead, half-alive creature or zombie. After the press conference, Judy receives a call from her assistant, who tells her he has taken care of all the escapees except for Louise. Judy instructs him that Louise must be found and eliminated immediately. Later, Judy goes to Wednesday at the hospital, warning her not to interfere in the asylum's matters again, and telling her that the hospital is an inheritance from her father and very precious to her. Wednesday ignores her and leaves. At that moment, she receives a message from someone telling her that she and Enid's lives will end today. Meanwhile, Tyler is at the hospital and Wednesday tries to chase him, but he manages to escape. Wednesday returns to her room with Enid, only to be surprised that Principal Williams is already there waiting for her. We realize that Wednesday is the only one who can see Principal Williams. Wednesday asks Enid to pack her things and go back home, because Tyler intends to end both their lives. But Enid insists on staying by Wednesday's side, telling her she will never leave her. And although Wednesday says she wants to save her, Enid tells her she doesn't need anyone to save her. Then she walks out. That day happens to be the Day of the Dead. And we understand why Weems appeared to act as Wednesday's spiritual guide. Wednesday asks if she can restore the power she lost, but Williams replies that she isn't a genie. And Wednesday has to figure out the way herself. Their conversation is interrupted by Principal Dort, who is handing out t-shirts to students in order to gain popularity. He congratulates everyone on the Day of the Dead, which also coincides with the Outcasts' Memorial Day. And from his words, it's clear he is a materialistic man obsessed with money, something that disgusts. Wednesday asks Dort to cancel the party he is hosting that night because the Hyde creature is on the loose and could cause countless deaths. Yet, the greedy principal refuses since he expects to collect large donations. Meanwhile, Judy's assistant is searching for the Hyde. Tyler, intending to take him down along with the other escapees, but Tyler suddenly appears behind him and kills him. The zombie hears the noise and enters to feast on Judy's assistant's brain. At that same time, Wednesday is at her mother's house searching for information about Thornhill with Wims advising her. Morticia appears and asks Wednesday who she's talking to. Wednesday says she's talking to herself, but Morticia senses a spirit's presence. Williams moves a book toward Morticia, and she reads about an organic formula created by Thornhill, clearly connected to Tyler Galpin. Morticia objects to Wednesday's involvement in the case, but Wednesday tells her she must find a solution to everything that has happened. At that time, Enid is sitting with Bruno thinking about how they can help Wednesday. Then Enid comes up with an idea and goes straight to Thing, asking him to help her in order to reactivate the Nightshades. Indeed, he delivers the first message to Ajax to gather at night. Agnes witnesses everything. Meanwhile, that evening, Sheriff Santiago is investigating what happened to Judy's assistant's corpse and concludes that Tyler is working with the zombie because the body devoured by the zombie shows Tyler's claw marks. Later that night, Gomez attends the festival with his son, Pugsley. And at the same time, the zombie is also present at the vent. Elsewhere, Wednesday is sitting trying to find a solution when suddenly Agnes appears and tells her an important piece of information that the members of the Nightshades are gathering that night. We see them assembled. Ajax tells Enid that she has no right to call the Nightshades because she isn't a member. But Wednesday appears behind them and tells them they must work together to stop Tyler because he intends to end both her life and Enid's. After that, Wednesday goes to collect the Nightshade plant, a formula Thornhill had written about. Through this formula, Wednesday believes she can become Tyler's master, his mistress, and thereby control him. Williams appears to Wednesday and objects to what she is doing, telling her she should be protecting Enid instead of using her as bait to lure Tyler. Yet, Wednesday insists on her plan, but Williams warns her that Tyler ended Thornhill's life and could end hers too. Still, Wednesday ignores her and walks away. In truth, Wednesday is doing this to protect Enid. Meanwhile, the zombie is at the party snacking on some of the guests. Chaos erupts, and Pugsley realizes the zombie is present, so he asks his father to go inside and confirm whether the creature is really there. Indeed, when Pugsley goes inside, he discovers that the zombie has turned human and can even speak. The zombie asks Pugsley to let him escape because they are friends and he needs his help. When the zombie walks out, he exchanges a look of astonishment with Gomez, and we will later learn why that happened, dear viewer. So, if you've made it this far, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, Pugsley comes out and tells his father he didn't find the zombie and that Noon was inside. Still, Gomez embraces him. Meanwhile, at Morticia's house, Louise, one of the escaped inmates, appears and talks with her. We find out that Louise and Morticia shared an old friendship. Louise tells Morticia that Tyler is her son, and that she was once married to Sheriff Galpin, Tyler's father, and she asks Morticia to help her son elsewhere Wednesday. And the Nightshades are waiting for Tyler to arrive. Enid steps out to act as the bait. Tyler chases after her, intending to kill her. And if you wonder why he wants her dead, dear viewer, it is because she defeated him in the first season and was the reason he was locked in the asylum. The Nightshades surround Tyler, and we learn from their words that his strength is weakening because he killed his former master, Thornhill. At that moment, Wednesday appears with the organic compound, intending to inject it into Tyler and become his new mistress. But just as she is about to do it, another Hyde creature appears. It is about to finish Wednesday off, when Morticia steps in and tells the new Hyde that they have an agreement. The new Hyde spares Wednesday, takes Tyler, and leaves. It is worth noting the new Hyde is female, and from Wednesday's conversation with Morticia, we learn that this new Hyde is Tyler's mother. Morticia objects to Wednesday's reckless actions, while Wednesday warns her and says she was wrong to trust Louise, Tyler's mother, because as a Hyde, she can never be trusted. Finally, Tyler is reunited with his mother, discovering after so many years that she is still alive. Meanwhile, the zombie shows up at Judy's house, looking ready to finish her off. On the other side, Enid is training when she suddenly transforms into a werewolf. And her teacher, Capri, realizes that Enid has shifted on a night when the moon isn't even full. Episode 2 begins with a scene stranger than fiction. We see Wednesday putting on colorful makeup and wearing bright clothes, acting as if she were Enid, appearing before all the students and behaving in a very social way, completely opposite to her nature, with a voiceover of Enid saying, "Admit it." This is Wednesday Addams as you never wanted to see her. And to understand what led her here, we go back 36 hours earlier, where Enid, Wednesday, and her family are attending an inquiry with Dort and Santiago. The principal scolds Enid and orders her to leave while Wednesday blames him and reminds him she had warned him Tyler would be there. Meanwhile, Morticia says, "We shouldn't fear the Hyde because in reality, Louise is her friend Franwis from high school days, and she had promised never to return to town again. Neither she nor Tyler, since she is now Tyler's mistress." Afterward, Williams appears to Wednesday and tells her that she not only caused the release of one Hyde, but two, and therefore it is her responsibility to find a solution to save Enid from them, because otherwise things will never end. She also urges her to repair her relationship with her family. Later, Wednesday asks the professor about Francois. He tells her that Franwy had once been his student, and that she is the sister of Isaac, the most brilliant and gifted student he'd ever known at Nevermore. Then he recounts the story of Isaac we learned in part 1 of this season, how he built a secret laboratory in Iago Tower, or the clock tower, and later caused his own death and was buried under a tree. From this we realize Isaac is the zombie, dear viewer. So pay attention because the upcoming events will be explosive. Immediately, Wednesday goes to her brother Pugsley and asks him about the zombie. She tells him it is Isaac Knight and that she must find him at once. Pugsley tells her the last time he saw him was during the celebrations, and he also gives her a picture he had picked up. When Wednesday looks at it, she concludes that Isaac must be searching for his sister. We then move to Tyler and his mother, Francois. He is shocked that she is still alive since he attended her funeral himself. She explains that the doctor lied to them and declared her dead because she had been taken for experimentation. And we learn that the doctor who wanted to experiment on her was none other than Judy's father, tying all the threads together. Dear viewer, Franouille then tells Tyler that she has become his mistress and he must respect her. Meanwhile, Capri visits Enid in her room and tells her she saw her transforming into a werewolf, which means she could be an alpha. Being an alpha wolf would give her immense strength. But at the same time, if she transformed under a full moon, she would remain a wolf forever and never return to her human form. Anne is frightened, but Capri reassures her that there is a way to control it. At this moment, Wednesday goes to speak with her grandmother, asking about Aunt Oilia and telling her about Francois and her son Tyler, explaining that now there are 2 hides roaming free, which is a serious threat. She asks her grandmother to help her regain her powers because she needs them to face the hides. The grandmother directs her to the grave of Rootwood, saying she must go there and connect with her to find the solution. When Wednesday leaves, Enid talks to her about joining her in the dance performance for the upcoming school celebration, and also asks her to share her plan. But Wednesday hides it from her, refusing to take her along and going out alone. Of course, Wednesday does this because she is afraid for Enid. But Enid decides to follow her and convince her to join the party. Wednesday arrives at Rootwood's grave, recites the incantations, and successfully manages to connect with her by reading the words inscribed on the tombstone. Wednesday asks Rootwood to give her powers back. Rootwood tells her to place her hand on the fire, and she will regain her abilities temporarily, but there will be a price to pay. At that moment, Enid appears and grabs Wednesday's arm, and both of them lose consciousness at the same time. The next morning, Wednesday and Enid are horrified by what happened because they discover their bodies have been switched. And it is now in Wednesday's body, and Wednesday is in Enid's body. From this moment on, dear viewer, we will call Wednesday Enid, and Enid Wednesday until they return to their original selves. Enid in Wednesday's body begs Wednesday to find a solution because she cannot stand being in her body for long. While Wednesday tells her she too cannot tolerate living in this colorful body for long, so she decides to return again to Rootwood's grave. Wednesday asks Enid to behave normally until she comes back. Agnes notices that Wednesday, who is actually Enid, is acting strangely and is surprised when she orders a colorful drink. This causes Enid to break out in a rash because she is allergic to colors. Morticia appears and gives her an ointment that helps her feel better. Meanwhile, Wednesday in Enid's body goes to Rootwood's grave, where he appears and warns her not to repeat the same ritual, also telling her she must return to her original body, because if she doesn't, both Wednesday and Enid will die once 24 hours have passed. Elsewhere, we see Isaac finally reaching Francois and revealing to her that he is still alive, though at first she doesn't believe him and points a gun at him. Eventually, she is convinced and hugs him, even telling Tyler to welcome his genius, Uncle Isaac. Francois is struck by a weakness that makes her cough up blood, and she explains to Tyler the cause of her illness. This illness afflicts highs. The immense power they possess comes at a price, shortening their lifespan and causing their lives to end prematurely. But Isaac tells them he has taken care of Judy and can now access Willow Hill Asylum to use the machine there to help Francois heal and recover. Meanwhile, Wednesday is playing music to clear her mind when Professor Capri walks in, astonished at her talent, believing she is Enid rather than Wednesday. Capra tells her she must lock herself in the iron cage once night falls, because it's the only safe way to avoid permanently turning into a wolf. The goal is to stop her from transforming under the full moon. Wednesday then notices a picture of Rootwood and realizes she once lived in Morticia's house. So, she decides to go there and search for any clues. She finds a secret door leading to the Chamber of the Dead, where Rootwood tells her that the only way to return to her own body is to be willing to die inside this foreign one. Morticia suddenly appears, assuming Enid has been sent by Wednesday to spy on her. She throws her out and tells her to inform Wednesday to attend family dinner. Meanwhile, Enid in the room is rummaging through some belongings and finds Wednesday's journal, discovering that Wednesday has written terrible things about her, describing her as a shallow, silly girl obsessed with social media and appearances, completely superficial. Enid becomes furious and decides to get revenge on Wednesday by dressing in colorful clothes, just as we saw earlier, and dancing in front of all the students who are shocked to see Wednesday acting in such a way. After a while, she begins itching because of her allergy to colors. And the moment Wednesday sees her like this, she becomes extremely angry. After a while, Wednesday discovers Bruno's betrayal of Enid when she overhears him talking to his girlfriend in the Philippines. She shocks him by revealing she can understand and speak Filipino, which leaves him stunned. And she tells him this means she's breaking up with him. Of course, Bruno thinks it is ending the relationship. Capri then arrives and urges her to get to the cage quickly, or her life will be in danger. All of this happens under Agnes's watchful eyes. She goes to Enid's room and asks why she is acting this way. Believing she is talking to Wednesday, surprised that Wednesday is behaving so strangely, Agnes mentions that Enid has broken up with Bruno and is spending nights in werewolf pep protection cages. This makes Enid furious and even angrier when Agnes speaks poorly about her. So, Enid lashes out, calling her a pathetic sycophant and telling her to disappear forever, which deeply wounds Agnes. Of course, dear viewer, I remind you, Agnes thinks she is speaking to Wednesday, not Enid. Later, Enid attends the family dinner while still in Wednesday's body. A conversation begins between her and Morticia. Morticia senses Weems's spirit and demands she reveal herself. Williams appears and tells Morticia everything, explaining that Wednesday went to Rootwood's grave, that her body was swapped with Enid's. And the biggest proof is that the Enid sitting with them now cannot see her. We learn they have only until morning to fix this situation, otherwise their lives will end before dawn, meaning both Enid and Wednesday. Meanwhile, at the professor's office, Isaac shows up to take his revenge. He decides to devour the professor's brain so that his human growth will be complete. Agnes witnesses this, screams, and vanishes while Isaac absorbs the professor's energy source and walks away. We then learn that Isaac took the energy source to use it at Willow Hill Asylum, since the power was out in that cursed place. He, Tyler, and Francois drive there in the car with Agnes, managing to hide inside the trunk. Meanwhile, Enid goes to Wednesday and tells her they must switch their bodies back before dawn. At that moment, Agnes calls them and reveals she is trapped in the trunk with Isaac, Tyler, and Francois. She sends them her location so they can come and save the situation. Wednesday realizes they are heading to Willow Hill Asylum. At the asylum, Isaac prepares to treat Francois, the treatment being to strip her of her ability to transform and make her fully human. Tyler notices someone suspicious and manages to capture Enid, locking her in a cell. This happens just as Wednesday and Enid arrive. Wednesday rushes in to save Agnes, while at the same time, the procedure on Francois is beginning. A fight breaks out with Tyler, and the girls manage to stop the treatment. Tyler is about to punish them. But Wednesday, still in Enid's body, transforms into a wolf and succeeds in overpowering him. Then the girls quickly escape before the lab explodes. And indeed, they succeed in getting out. Dear viewer, once outside, Agnes finally understands everything and realizes it was Enid who spoke to her in the room. Happy to know she is still friends with Wednesday. Now finally Wednesday and Enid return to Rootwood's grave and successfully reverse the body swap, each of them returning to her natural form. Wednesday tells Enid to go take a shower. Then, Williams leads Wednesday to a grave, where she discovers that the one destined to die is a member of the Addams family, not her friend Anidas she had feared. Episode 7 opens with a flashback 15 years earlier, where we see a young Principal Dort inside a tavern called Morning Song meeting a struggling actor named Arnold Hunt. Dort proposes a clever idea to Arnold, telling him he wants to build a school for outcasts and needs Arnold to be the face of it because of his good looks and charm. Arnold would be the one in the spotlight, the public figure, while Dort would secretly be the one pulling the strings from behind the scenes. In the present, Santiago investigates what happened to the professor and informs Principal Dort that she will be responsible for securing Nevermore. Meanwhile, Wednesday tells her friends that it is a member of the Addams family whose life is fated to end, not Enid as she had thought. She confronts her parents about hiding the truth of Isaac. Morticia and Gomez reveal his story, that he was their friend when they were younger and obsessed with science. Gomez admits he had no idea Isaac was the zombie until he saw him at the festival. Wednesday explains that he is no longer a zombie, but now a fully formed man, making him an even greater threat. Afterward, Wednesday speaks with her mother, privately telling her that one of the Addams family members is destined to die, and joking that she wants to sacrifice Pugsley. At school, we see Enid talking with Professor Capri, who warns her about transforming into an alpha wolf under the full moon because, if she does, she will remain in wolf form forever, and the other werewolves will hunt her down and destroy her. So, she must follow protocol and lock herself in the cages at nightfall. Meanwhile, Isaac, Tyler, and France are at their hideout when they realize Francois's treatment has run out, so they decide to head back to the asylum to get more. Wednesday keeps searching until she finally locates their hideout, realizing they had left to get more treatment. When she returns to school, she finds her grandmother there and asks if she is really going to donate to Dort. The grandmother shocks her by saying she won't give him a single penny and will enjoy watching the look of despair on his face. Indeed, when Dort presents her with a tempting offer, promising to dedicate a large part of the school in her family's name, she refuses and tells him she won't donate a cent. But Dort has a backup plan. He manipulates Bianca into enchanting her and convincing her to donate all her fortune to him. The next morning, Wednesday, and the family are stunned to learn that the grandmother is pledging her entire wealth to. Principal Dort Wednesday immediately suspects something, is wrong, and realizes Dort must have exploited Bianca to cast a spell on her grandmother. She rushes to confront Bianca, challenging her to a duel until she defeats her and forces her to confess. Bianca reveals everything, admitting that the principal used her to enchant the grandmother. But in a sudden moment of distraction, Bianca successfully enchants Wednesday, making her forget everything that was said. Fortunately, Agnes was present and overheard it all, later recounting the truth to Wednesday. When Wednesday demands she show herself, she is stunned to see Agnes dressed exactly like her, claiming she is just a copy, not the original. That night, Principal Dort confronts Bianca with Arnold, who turns out to be her father. Arnold demands his share of the profits, but Dort refuses to give him anything. Tensions rise until Dort burns Arnold alive in front of Bianca. Afterward comes the time of the grand party, where the grandmother is supposed to donate the money, and where Enid is also expected to perform her dance. Wednesday asks Bianca to trust her, and insists on speaking with her. Meanwhile, Enid is waiting for Bruno to join her at the party after. They reconciled, but the girl Bruno has been cheating with shows up. Enid tells her she won't compete over Bruno, because that's not her nature, and walks away, sitting sadly by herself until Agnes appears. Also heartbroken because Wednesday had hurt her feelings. She admits she only ever wished to be like Wednesday. But Enid tells her that one Wednesday is enough for this world, and assures Agnes that she is special in her own way, that her true self is far better than being just a copy of Wednesday. Agnes decides to embrace her own nature. At the same time, Pugsley steps out of the party, and we see Isaac lurking nearby watching him. Wednesday asks Enid for help, and tells Agnes that includes her too, complimenting her outfit and saying she finally looks unique. Agnes replies that Wednesday's opinion doesn't matter to her anymore, to which Wednesday answers, "Good." Enid then begins her dance performance alongside Agnes, clearly designed in the show to become a trending TikTok challenge. During the performance, Agnes sees her power of invisibility as part of the choreography, sneaks away, and steals the artifact the principal uses to protect himself from Bianca's magic. As the dance ends, Bianca takes the microphone and calls Principal Dort and Morticia to the stage. She enchants the principal and forces him to confess the truth to everyone present. And indeed, dear viewer, he admits that he ordered Bianca to enchant Morticia to make her donate a large sum. And when that failed, he ordered Bianca to bewitch grandmother Hester Frump to give away her entire fortune. He also admits that he had promised Gideon or Arnold that he would split the money with him, and now Arnold is dead, burned alive. The principal then threatens to kill Bianca, but Ajax steps in to play his part, turning the principal into stone. A massive chandelier crashes down on him, finishing him off. After all this, the family feels proud of Wednesday. Suddenly, Eugene arrives to tell them that Isaac is in the Nevermore Cemetery and has Pugsley captive. Wednesday rushes there to save her brother, but when she arrives, she cannot find him. Then, we see Wednesday speaking with Morticia and Wheeze, the latter telling them they must combine their psychic powers with the grandmother's in order to locate Pugsley and save him. They sit together and unite their abilities. Wednesday sees a vision of her parents burying Isaac in the grave. When she wakes, she confronts her mother and demands the truth. Morticia tells her that Isaac had invented a machine to strip Francois of her powers and make her human again. But the machine malfunctioned and required a strong energy source. Since Gomez was Isaac's closest friend and shared the same powers as Pugsley, Isaac decided to use his strength, but betrayed him by draining his energy completely, even though he knew it would end Gomez's life. He even dug a grave for him himself. During the process, the machine malfunctioned, resulting in Isaac's own death and Gomez losing his powers as an outcast as punishment. Isaac was buried in the very grave he had dug for Gomez. Wednesday realizes Isaac intends to use Pugsley as an energy source, just as Hyacinthi did with Gomez. She quickly sets out to rescue her brother. Isaac sends a message through Eugene, asking to meet her at midnight at the grave. Wednesday goes to face him, setting up a trap of arrows with Thing, assigned to release them at the right moment. But Thing misses and Isaac is unharmed. Tyler locks Thing in a glass box. Isaac then removes the glove from his hand and explains to Wednesday that Thing is actually his severed hand cut off during one of his experiments by Morticia. Since then, Thing became part of the Addams family. Finally, Isaac stitches Thing back onto his arm, restoring him to his original form. Afterward, he pushes Wednesday into the grave and buries her with dirt until she disappears beneath the ground. All this happens under Agnes's watchful eyes as she rushes to Enid for help. Enid doesn't hesitate and runs with her to save Wednesday. Digging frantically at the grave, realizing her current strength isn't enough to free Wednesday in time, and that her life is about to end, she makes the choice to transform into a wolf. Even though the moon is full, condemning herself to remain a wolf forever. With this power, she manages to dig Wednesday out, reviving her. Wednesday opens her eyes and remarks that she enjoyed the experience. But when she sees Enid permanently transformed into a werewolf, she is shocked. Agnes explains there was no other way to save her. Enid runs away, and Wednesday asks Agnes to track her. Meanwhile, Isaac, Francois, and Tyler arrive at the Clock Tower lab. Isaac uses his new hand's power to activate the lab. They chain Pugsley to a chair, and the shocking twist is revealed. Francois and Isaac are doing this to save Tyler. Their goal is to strip him of his hide powers, fulfilling Isaac's promise to his sister, Francois. At the same time, Morticia arrives with Wednesday, and they all head to the lab to rescue Pugsley. The procedure begins, but Wednesday appears just in time to break Tyler's restraints. He transforms into a hide and strikes Isaac unconscious. Wednesday frees her brother, while Tyler also lashes out at his mother, forcing Francois to reveal her hide form. A brutal battle follows, ultimately ending with the lab exploding just as it had years before. The family defeats Isaac with the help of Thing, who, once reminded that he is part of the Addams family, harnesses the strength of family and friendship to attack Isaac relentlessly until he rips out his mechanical heart. Thing is finally freed and returns as Wednesday's loyal companion. Agnes tells Wednesday she has found where Enid is. Elsewhere, Capri approaches Tyler and tells him she will help him learn to control his hide powers. As for Morticia and Wednesday, Wimes bids them farewell, telling them her role is finally complete. Wednesday decides not to return home, but instead to set off on her own path to find her dearest friend, Enid. At that moment, Wednesday's powers return through a vision of Aunt Alia, whose mystery remains unsolved. Yet, one last secret is unveiled. The grandmother is keeping Oilia locked in a secluded room, and we see written on the wall the chilling words, "Wednesday must die." The season ends with Wednesday declaring, "I am determined to unear every lie and every deception or die trying." What a story, dear viewer. Truly a tale with a lesson. Don't forget to like and subscribe.